So today we're doing a painting tutorial on how I paint my grots. If you recognize this model, it's actually the Grot rigger from the Battle Wagon upgrade sprue, and that's exactly what it is. It is the Grot rigger for my jet battle wagon. So we're going to go over my the method I use to paint these guys super quick. First, let's go over the paints we're going to use. For the skin, we're going to use Scorpion Green and Griffon Sepia wash and Thraka Green wash. For the leather parts, we got a selection of colors. We got Scorched Brown, Bestial Brown, and Snakebite Leather, which will also be used on the teeth and fingernails. And then I have a selection of Blood Red, Blazing Orange, and Skull White to use on the goggles. The goggles, they do nothing. And for the metallic parts, we're going to use Bolt Gun Metal, Chainmail, and Devlin Mud. And I got some black here just in case I need it. So there's obviously not going to be any basing on this because I don't have any basing. And I actually have done a video like this before, but I decided to redo it in HD just to because the other one was basically unwatchable. Oh, and for brushes, I'm going to be using my GW detail brush. I use this for washes and stuff. And I have my Winsor Newton Series 7s, size 0 and size 000. So what we're going to be doing is with the skin is we're basically going to be doing it as washes, which is why the white primer is so important. When you use white primer on a very thin color, basically what's going to happen is you're going to get free highlights because the color isn't going to stay as thick on the top edges of the detail. So you can get that free highlighting without having to actually do a second color. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix up some Scorpion Green and thin it out a lot. Oh, that has some varnish in there. I don't want to use that pot. So we're going to grab a bunch of the Scorpion Green, probably more than we need simply because we don't want it to dry out while we're working on it. And then for thinning it out, I'm going to use Flow Aid. This is Liquitex Flow Aid. It mixed in the appropriate ratio as recommended by Liquitex. And what that will do is will give us a, let's make sure we get the right consistency, and we do. So that will give us literally a wash of Scorpion Green. So I'm going to start on the back here. Find some place where I can be seeing it, be comfortable enough to paint. So I'm going to use my crappy brush here. I'm just going to basically wash the skin with the Scorpion Green. And you can already see it settling in the recesses, just like a wash would. You have to make sure not get the green where you don't want it, because unlike other methods, you really can't go back over the areas, because we're also going to use the browns on the leather in the same way as a wash. So we don't want to have to go back over the brown areas. With white primer or something to restore the white color. So we want to make sure and get the green only where it's supposed to be. I mean, there are exceptions, and bulk and stuff doesn't matter. And of course the mouth doesn't matter because it's just going to get painted. So basically the skin and the browns need to make sure and there's no overlap. Otherwise you'll have to go back over the mistake with white primer or white paint to restore the white. See, we got a very nice coloration, and it's getting into the recesses quite nicely. So I'm going ahead and pause the video and finish this up and let it dry for the next step. Okay, so the next step is going to be making a wash of brown for the loincloth and stuff. So for the shoes, I'm going to use Snakebite Leather. So again, I'm going to mix up some Snakebite Leather with some Flow Aid probably a little too much. We'll see what happens. Good mix. That's probably a little too thin. So I got a little more paint to it. Okay, that's much better. So again, we're going to be painting the shoes here. And then we're going to mix up some scorch brown for the loincloth itself. Or I mean, yeah, scorch brown. Okay. And you control the amount of paint on here, make sure you don't get any overruns. You already see the wash settling into the recesses there on the back of the loincloth, which is exactly what we want, just if it was one of the GW box washes. And you can see because of that now the high raised areas are lighter than the recesses, so there's your free highlight just from being a white base. So I'm going to finish this up, let it dry, and we'll get back in a minute. So now that everything is painted and dry, we're going to start with washing the skin, and the first layer of wash on the skin is going to be sepia, Greffillon sepia. Why sepia? Why brown? Because it's just going to add a lot to the skin. So we're just going to give the skin a good heavy wash of sepia. And this will add in a lot more depth than if we just went with all greens. If you want, you could actually even do some of the brown parts of the sepia too, because that will just get washed with Devon mud afterwards. So we're going to do the scorched brown parts with the sepia as well. So that way, less work involved. Make sure we get a good coverage, good controlled coverage. Now the reason why I only use this method on my grots is because it produces a very light coloration. It's very hard to get a dark color when you're trying to use the white undercoat. There we go. Got a nice coat there of the sepia everywhere, running into the recesses. So we're going to let this dry. You know what I was saying is, this method really doesn't give you a dark color, so if you want to go light, this works great. And also if you want to get things out quick, because it gets a lot of really good detail without a lot of effort. So now it's time to let the sepia dry, and we'll go to the next step after that. Okay, so here's the sepia all dried up, and you can see I've also gone ahead and done the bolt gun parts while it was drying. So our next step for the skin is going to be a wash of Thraka green. And what that will do is it will restore the green color to the much wanted green color to the skin. So we just give it just the skin this time. A nice wash of Thraka green. Now you can vary the skin tone like this by giving it more or less wash. And the more you give it, of course, the darker green it will be. Or if you thin it out, you can make it a very even, more brownish green. But you can definitely vary the skin tone by varying the application of this layer. And this will pretty much be the end of the detail of the skin. Actually, this will be the end of the skin. After this, all that will be left is some very, what I would consider, minor details. After this wash is dry, we need to wash the metal parts with Devlin mud. That's way too much wash. Spread that around a little bit. We'll have to wash the two metal parts with Devlin mud, as well as the loincloth and other leather parts. They will be washed with Devlin mud as well. See how well that restores that nice green color. To the skin. Make sure we get everywhere. And the brown, of course, will act like its own little, will be the shading. The sepia is what provides the shading. And then the white undercoat provides the highlight. So there we go. So we have a nice fresh green color. So after this dries, we're going to hit up the areas of Devlin mud, and then we'll go on and finish the last few details. So all the washes have dried. I've taken the liberty of washing the bolt gun parts in Devlin mud, and as you can see, the skin has quite a lot of, well, I could say it's complexity to it. The browns and the greens and the highlights and the light areas from the white primer all kind of mixing together to form a very complex looking skin tone, which is really the point of the process. Thus it provides an incredibly busy, and I think just an awesome look to the skin with minimal effort. You got 3 washes, basically, is all it is to get the skin that color. You've got good depth, you've got good highlights, all with almost no effort. So really all that's left is just a few details. And so we're going to start with the details. Refocus. And the first detail we're going to do is I'm going to paint the mouth black to get ready for the teeth work. So the next step is I'm going to get the outside bands of the goggles. I'm going to make them leather, so I'm going to use some snake bite. This will be just as easily be done in bolt gun. Just kind of rim these. There's no actual details on the model for the straps behind the eye, so we're just going to kind of wing it here. I need a little more light. Okay. Next step, I'm going to do something with this gauge here. I'm going to grab just a little bit of blue here. You can put this in the list, but it doesn't really matter. It could easily be red. Do this wire here coming out of the gauge. I don't know why there's a gauge on a wrench, but I didn't do the model. paint this wire blue here. A little bit of regal blue there on the wire. And the inside of the gauge, I think we're going to do in kind of a white. Yeah. Kind of fill in the gauge. Oops, way too much paint. Something like that. That works. And what's next? So anyway, I was saying there was not much fingernail detail on here, so it's going to be really hard to do any fingernails. So for the fingernails, I'm going to do 3 colors, starting with scorched brown, or teeth I should say. So I'm going to base the teeth with scorched brown. If they're bigger teeth, I can actually use more colors, but since these are really small, we're just going to get the teeth here. Some scorched brown. Okay, so these are the teeth. Now I'm going to grab some blood red with the goggles. And symbol on his belt. That. And the goggle part. His eyes. And then the needle here. In the gauge to get the red too. Just like that. Okay, so that's drying. We'll move back to the teeth. Grab some bleach bone. I'll find it. There it is. We're going to fill the teeth with some bleach bone. Only about halfway up, because we're going to leave the base of the scorched brown visible. Some of these fingernails, which is almost impossible to paint. If I skip the fingernails, it wouldn't be all that hard to imagine why, because they're basically non-existent. Okay, that looks good. So then let's see, highlight on the goggles with blazing orange. It's on the top quadrant here. Okay. And then just drop a spot of white, just like the usual lens tap. Okay. There's 2 steps left, only 2. first we're going to grab the Devlin Mud on the teeth. I'm not going to bother with it on the fingernails because there's just not enough material there for it to sneak into. So this will kind of sneak into the teeth and dirty them up a little bit. And then one last step. So we're going to get chainmail and highlight the wrench. Some brief edge highlighting the chainmail. So that's it. That is the entire tutorial for painting a grot. Let me see if I can refocus here. Check it close up and also take some good still pics here at the end of the video. But that's it. I guess if you wanted to, you could put some gloss coat on the goggles. I think that sounds like a good idea. Let's go ahead and do that. Some GW Art Coat. Refocus. And I'm just going to put... Normally I would probably spray this down with varnish first, but since it's going to be glued into the battle wagon before that happens, I'm not going to worry about it. Just do that for effect. Okay. No, that's one grot rigger and my painting tutorial on how to paint a grot quickly and easily and still provide some amazing results. So I said the skin will really pop in the still pics at the end, but it's pretty good right there. Give you some the idea of the complexity of the color. So thank you for watching this tutorial. Talk to you guys later.